Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, continuing with our edition of Cairo Local Time, we have more news. And Israel has launched the main stage of its long-awaited ground offensive on Gaza City on Tuesday, declaring that Gaza is burning, as Palestinians in the area describe the most intense bombardment they've experienced over the last 2 years. We're now joined over the telephone by our guest for more on this, Dr. Monica William, our international relations expert. It's a very good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Hello, good afternoon
to you, and thank you for your time. Now, of course, let me start by asking you about this offensive launched by the Israeli occupation forces on Gaza. Of course, they had spoken about it and hinted about it and even announced that there would be a ground offensive on the Gaza Strip, and today it is indeed beginning. We are receiving reports of many Palestinians fleeing from all the urban areas where the ground offensive has begun. How do you see this recent development, Ms. Monica?
Actually, on today, Israel launched a large-scale ground offensive into Gaza City, as you mentioned, described by Israel government as the main phase of operation to dismantle Hamas military infrastructure and containing actually air and naval firework and rigging large civilian displacement and international commitment. The assault marks a major escalation after months of diplomacy and ceasefire talks, and come when while Prime Minister Netanyahu is under intense domestic political pressure. Indeed, there is a lot of and several political drivers behind this offensive. The first one is security and imperative versus governance logic. As government present a classic security rationale. Yeah. So it's concentrated urban operation and to remove mass command nodes inside Gaza City and to reverse pressure for the release of hostages. This security narrative is compelling domestically, as we see, especially after a long period of rocket exchanges, hostages, and terror attacks. But it also underestimates the political and governance costs of urban occupation in the populated territory. On the other side, and the second one is domestic politics and survival. The offensive occurs actually in a pro-domestic context for Netanyahu. Ongoing corruption procedures and polarized political environment increase incentive to demonstrate defensive and critical leadership. Military action actually produce a ready effect, but also carries political risk if it devolves into this urban warfare with high civilian casualties and no clear in-game. Several analysts
right.
Yes. Sources point to political survival as a factor shaping timing and scope.
Right. Monica, let me just ask you very quickly so I don't run out of time. Now, hours before this escalation, Israel has renewed calls on civilians to leave. And we've seen many Palestinians actually fleeing the scene. And hours before this escalation, there were reports that the U.S. Secretary of State offered apparent backing for the Israeli government's decision to abandon ceasefire talks and even use force to smash Hamas. How do you see the reports that are being received in this regard?
Yes, it's actually there is a strategic objective and constraint at the same time for this operation. Especially the first one is the brief Hamas command and control and tunnel network concentrated in Gaza City for its concentration on hostages and thereby achieve a political outcome at home, security and deterrence. On the other, the constraint is urban fighting is casualty incentive and lengthens the conflict. High civilian tools damage Israel's international standing and threat within also the regional involvement. And on the other side, there is a regional international dynamics in this region. The regional and diplomatic escalation, the offensive has provoked sharp reaction across the Arab world, and from majority of GCC, as we see, emergency meeting, as we see yesterday in the Doha summit, of course, including from Egypt and Qatar, as this increased diplomatic pressure on Israel and its external supporters. There is a real risk nowadays of spillover, the military, political or economic, if regional actors feel commit to respond more forcefully and to counter what's happening now. And on the other, and number two, let's mention a very important point in this regard. This was U.S. and United States and international community nowadays, international legitimacy. Now, it's in U.S. the public and private sector matters dependently initiate United States support for the operation, provides Israel with operational space, and continued backing in mounting civilian as well as with strain U.S. relation with regional partners and a part of its domestic constituency, and also there is a lot of reports that U.S. officials signaled and approved the conditional support underscore this balancing out.
Right, I'll have to leave it at that. Our guest, Monica William, our international relations expert, thank you very much for your time and for joining us this afternoon on Cairo Local Time. Ladies and gentlemen, do stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short break.
على صوت الدب